Over the past decade, the porn industry, like almost every other industry, has been forced to adapt to changing consumer habits. The wide availability of content and ease of distribution has been a boon to one particular niche, amateur porn. The new documentary, Hot Girls Wanted, follows the lives of several young women who work in that very industry. Women like Carly, a 19-year-old girl from Covington, Washington, who comes to Miami in search of work.
I don't actually have sex other than when I do porn. So I haven't done anything since I was here in October. So this will be the first time actually been intimate with a guy in 3 months.
No, 3, yeah.
So it's nerve-wracking and it makes me nervous, but at the same time I know I like doing it. And then the guys treat you like you're a princess.
I know, that's true. If only that would transition outside of shooting.
This week I sat down with Rashida Jones, a producer of the film, to discuss how changing cultural norms have affected the industry. When you watch this film, or when you watch cuts of it, what was your relationship to what you were seeing? Did you want to pause and say, please stop, please don't do this? I found myself kind of wanting to do that at a number of points.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the filmmakers did a really good job of continuing to push your comfort level throughout the course of the film. I mean, not so much they're very delicate about, actually there's not really nudity in the film. I mean, there's maybe one topless shot. Sorry, that's probably a disappointment for some people, but I wanted to understand the psychology of young women who would do this, and then what you kind of realize through the course of making the film is there isn't a psychology. It's not like there's one kind of girl who does this. It's the cultural psychology which allows for any girl to feel like it's a good choice.
And what is that cultural psychology?
I think I've been vocal about the conflation of pop culture and pornography, and I think it's no longer marginal, it's no longer subversive, it's no longer taboo to be in porn, to work in porn. And there's a lot that's good about that. But the bad side of that is that you just don't have a ton of information of how you get from point A to point B, which is a successful porn star.
Okay, but there's a lot to unpack here. But let me push on the first part, right? Because there is a really interesting, very vibrant debate among feminists, particularly people online, about this question, right? About okay, we've removed the taboo. I think it's unquestionable we have removed a very significant societal taboo that used to hover around pornography.
Yes.
It has entered the mainstream. Yeah. It's more accessible than ever. And there are people who say that taboo was a tool of the patriarchy that did all sorts of terrible things to people, and consenting, empowered adults can do what they want in labor contracts.
Yeah.
And there are some people who say, well, that taboo also had to do with images of women that are part of the patriarchy, that are only valuable insofar as they are sex objects.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't disregard the idea that pornography is part of the patriarchy when you see that 40% of porn is violent against women. It's hard to argue against that.
To me, the most interesting aspect of this film was actually it as a documentary about capitalism in 21st century America and the way this industry has shifted. Because what's fascinating about porn is it is simultaneously ubiquitous and there's no money in it. There's no real money in it. There's
not for the participants.
But even there's a stat that shows up on the film where it talks about the top 3 amateur sites are worth a combined $50 million. $50 million is a lot of money, but that's not Uber money.
Right.
That's there is such an endless supply of competitors in the space,
right,
that it can be everywhere and
Well then, but there's something about that. I mean, I don't know if it is capitalistic.
Right.
Everybody can make money off of it.
That's right.
So even if it's not one person hoarding all the money, it's still anybody can be a porn producer. Anybody can have a website. So, it is. There's something about it that is it's just sheer money.
And now you've got this it's just. The scene down there was bleak.
Right.
In the movie, it's bleak. It's this house is kind of run down, and people are just they're working this job the way that you might have gone and worked in a frickin' mine out west someday.
The difference is though is that bleakness, the fantasy of what's going to happen.
Yes, totally.
I don't think you're ever mining and you're thinking I'm going to be a huge star. Something's been promised to them along the way, which they obviously are complicit in. That's probably never going to come true. And so it's the disparity between the reality and the fantasy that's the most bleak part. And in a weird way, I mean, Hollywood is that way as well, but this is even worse because if you go to do amateur porn at 18, you're kind of washed up by 18 and a half.
Right. So
19.
that's my question. There's a great moment where they sort of talk about the typical lifespans in the film, and they're these very short ones. Maybe she just does all right. She lasts a few weeks. Medium is a few months. And at first you're like, ooh, that's rough. Like people get sort of burned out quickly. But then my other thought was like, yeah, people make dumb decisions, or not even dumb decisions. They make decisions at 18 they wouldn't make at 38.
Right.
I say this as someone who's 36, right? I make decisions. So then they make the decision they want to try this, and then they're like, not for me. This is kind of bleak. I'm out. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go be a doctor. I'm going to go be an accountant, whatever.
Yeah.
The question then becomes like, what do we do with the screen evidence?
Right.
And what does that mean for their life in terms of how all of us have social expectations about whether that taints you or not?
From what I understand, the girls in the film, they're less concerned about like the eternal, existence of them being filmed having sex than they are, I think, about just feeling like humiliated that they made the choice, or like, just regret about making that choice to begin with. Not anything they can't recover from,
right.
But had they had that choice to make again, maybe they wouldn't. And then there is like evidence of that choice. So
right, there is evidence of it.
It's more that.
But here's the thing: you've I think made this connection yourself, and the film makes this connection about kind of the world of ubiquitous social media, selfies, and constant posed performance for some lens, whether it's on my smartphone or at this party, or that in some ways, like every bad decision that every 18-year-old makes now, is recorded forever.
Everybody's a celebrity.
Yes.
And everybody has no privacy. But that being said, the thing that concerns me is maybe the onus is on us to change our expectation of what people have done in the past and how it's going to affect their future. But for me, the most disconcerting thing is the kind of like feminist part of it, which is, yes, there's a lot of things that are sex positive and empowering, but does having like such a strong imagery, such a strong message about how sexual everybody has to be all the time, does that limit women's choices? Because does it mean you have to be sexy to do anything?
Right.
Like everybody's sexy all the time. They're like, at the supermarket.
Right.
Like why? You're just buying food. Why do you have to be sexy all the time? Why do you have to look like you want it all the time?
I don't know. I always feel a little bit like I'm not the person to intervene in these debates, even though I follow them closely, because what do I know?
Right.
But it is hard to watch. Like there's like in the abstract about what sex positive whatever is in a theoretical sense, and then there's the actual jobs, labor relations, embodied people in them, and like it's hard to feel that the environment that is producing this universe is like a super feminist-friendly space. I think it's fair to say.
Right. Well, yes, absolutely. No, I mean, that's just, again, back to capitalism.
Which is not to say that the women in question aren't themselves feminists, and I think...
No, and there are women who are producing porn for women, they're directing porn for women, but it's a supply-demand thing. Like, lots of guys, it's mainly guys who watch and buy porn. So that's who they're going to make it for. Teen is the most searched word in porn. I don't think it's women who are searching the word teen.
Right.
I mean, maybe it is, but probably more men. I'm just speculating.
Right.
So they're just giving the people what they want. I'm just, what do they call it when it's like an educated guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think the patriarchy is so deeply institutionalized everywhere. It's not like you can't just pull one thing out. I like the intention of trying to co-opt things as empowering. I just worry that it's like sending a little bit of like a confusing message to young women.
The documentary Hot Girls Wanted is now available on Netflix. It's really a fascinating film.